Dina, good morning. Paul Lyons. I am in the Zoom call. But I'm not hearing any of the audio from the town hall.
You can now. We had you off.
Oh, now I can. Yeah. Okay, just want to be sure. Okay, thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
You're welcome. We're going to mute you now until we start.
There's a second.
Sir, so much to do. Are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Call the meeting to order. Please rise and place the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Commissioner White. Here. Vice Mayor Stanley.
Here.
Commissioner Orthwine. Here. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Let the record show that Town Manager Dunham and Assistant Town Attorney Nazaro and Police Chief Allen and myself are also present.
Very good. We've been presented with the meeting from our minutes from our regular meeting on November 13th and a special meeting on November 24th. Are there any corrections, additions, or comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Under the manager's comments, I'm going to add just a. Are you talking about?
Is this on the regular meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a minute. Getting ahead of myself.
Anyone else have any comments or changes? If not, is there a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve the minutes from the last regular meeting and the special meeting of the town commission.
Second. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner White. Yes. Commissioner Orthwine. Yes. Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Additions to the agenda?
Okay. Yes. Under the manager's report, I'm adding a discussion or for your information, sound system upgrade, and then that would be 5, and then 6 would be an update on the 2900 Avenue Osceola code violation.
In addition, we're going to add under items for commission action 10B, discussion of the town manager's salary. Anything else? If not, our next meeting will be January 8th, 2021 at 9 a.m. for anyone who wishes to attend. Comments from the public? Anyone wish to speak? Yes. Mayor DePass.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. Good morning. First, I'd like to say happy holidays. I hope your Thanksgiving was good, and the holidays coming up will be even better, and 2021 will be even that much better. I'd like to thank you for lending us your chief on Saturday. We had to cancel our annual Christmas party, which is always at Town Hall, and it is a big deal. And Chief Allen is always our Santa, if you did not know it. And the children come out and they love to get their picture taken and pull out a beard and do all kinds of stuff. So this year we are actually doing a Santa cruise around on a golf cart. And I was actually able to twist his arm, and we are going to have Mrs. Claus with us, his wife. this year also. So that is going to be on Saturday, this Saturday, from 3 to 5:30. We are going throughout the town of Ocean Ridge and Briny Breezes and throwing out candy and dog treats. So if you are so inclined to come see your chief and his lovely Mrs. Claus, that's where he will be. The other thing I wanted to let you know about is we are doing on Monday a free global COVID testing sponsored by the county. I believe that my town manager reached out to Mr. Dunham, but it is from 9 to 4. All you need to bring is your mask and some form of ID. It's free, no insurance needed, and we hope as many people can come as possible. So I will hand this to the clerk, and thank you again.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And Santa, do not leave your feet bob in the slide. No. Okay, thank you. I'm sure you all noticed that we have some very festive and decorative nameplates for each of the commissioners. This was done by Rebecca Tube's daughter, Bella, and I just think they're wonderful. Not only for the thought that she put into it, but the skill and the effort and time that she did. So I'm going to issue a mayoral declaration of appreciation to Bella too. And I think that all commissioners would join me in that declaration. So thank you, Bella. All right, let's move on. Anyone else who wishes to speak? If not, let's go to the application for development approval. This is 3247 Polo Drive. Is there anyone here to present that application?
Not yet, sir.
Perhaps, Mr. Dunham, you could tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this is at the Peter Dye House, and this is an application for a new house there that went through the ARPD. I think the owner of the house was at the ARPB meeting. To make a long story short, the ARPB did not recommend, their recommendation to the town commission was not to approve this house, this application, and I think the major points on it were that it didn't, the color, the window treatments and basically all of the accessory type colors on the house were very dark, and that's not typical. They had described their house as a Gulfstream Bermuda, and Gulfstream Bermuda, as pointed out in our town code, typically has pastel type colors. This was all discussed. Actually, it came before the ARPB twice, and so the colors were an issue, and basically the style of the house. Again, they described it as a Gulfstream Bermuda on their application, but during the discussion, both meetings, there was a lot of discussion about the style of the house, which had, I'm not an architect, but the discussion pretty much described it as an Asian flair. And so the applicant actually, by his comments, implied he understood that it really didn't, wasn't like or consistent with the architectural styles in that neighborhood, but thought people would learn to like it and come in with applications that were similar to that. So the ARPD did recommend denial to you. I mean, we bring it, so that's why it's on the agenda today. We tried to get a hold of the architect last evening to see if they were actually going to be here today. We did talk to him, and he didn't realize that we even had it on the agenda. And so, we suggested that he needs to call and find out if the applicant is actually withdrawing this or not. We didn't hear back from him, and our efforts this morning to get a hold of him we've not been able to communicate with him this morning.
Right. And I didn't ask before, but since we weren't taking notes, any ex parte communications on this application? So if I understand correctly, the application was denied by the ARPB, does not meet the Gulfstream Bermuda design, by way of color, by bronze framing of windows, or the window designs themselves.
Correct.
Any comments?
Well, so, it's a busy day. What do we want to do here, town manager and Trey? Do we want to actually vote on it, or do we want to vote to send it back to, I mean, if you vote it down, it goes, they got to redo it anyway, which is where we are anyway. Sometimes people, applicants don't like it voted down. We could just, I mean, it's on the agenda, or do we just vote it down with specific headings and spend a little time on it?
Well, I'll speak to that, and then I'll let Trey.
Go for it, you know, what.
Yes. So the applicant actually did make a comment at the last ARPB meeting that if he couldn't be successful, getting his house approved, that he would he would go elsewhere, basically, is what he said. And so I think the architect took that to mean that he was withdrawing, because when we talked to him yesterday, he didn't even know that it was on the agenda today. I think the staff has talked about it, and I think Trey, we've come to a decision that you probably should go ahead and make a decision on it today, right?
Yeah, given the fact that the applicant indicated that he was perhaps withdrawing the application, but never submitted that information to the town, and now we have communication from the architect indicating that he even believed that the application was withdrawn. I think that we have enough evidence here to vote on it based on the fact that it does not meet the code, specifically the bronze windows, which are a prohibited element, and then it's not just sort of in limbo at the next meeting or.
We don't have the option to send it back down. It's really to table it, rehear it when they come back, which is probably a waste of staff time at the moment, this time of year, or just, make a decision on this application before us right now. Right?
I think we would recommend that you go ahead and pass on it.
All right, that being said, let's consider a motion.
What do you do with the demolition permit? Is that all part of it then?
Yes, so all of these,
One motion to deny the project?
We have a second handle each one.
Yes, handle each one.
right, I think if you would act on each one of those would be better.
So, can I make a motion to deny the land clearing permit to clear for the land construction? That's what they're saying.
Second?
Still?
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Orthwine? Yes. Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
And the second one be, move to deny a demolition permit to demolish all structures on the site.
Second?
Mr. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Orthwine? Yes. Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Motion to deny, special exception to permit roof projections to exceed the maximum floor area ratio by 128 square feet.
Mr. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Orthwine? Yes. Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to deny a level 3 architectural site plan based on the finding that the construction of a 2-story, 44 square foot single family Gulfstream Bermuda style home with a 2-car garage, swimming pool, and lanai meets the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards with the following conditions.
Do I have to read all the conditions?
You do not, and it would be that it does not meet the code.
That does not meet any of our design manual guidelines.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Second?
Ms. Keller?
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortwine,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let's move on to town manager's reports on the underground. John?
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to utility undergrounding, I'll start with Comcast. Comcast, if you remember, has around 100 customers, active customers, and then they were calling all of these customers to make arrangements to come to their house to do the final setup for each house. And as of this week, by communication from Comcast, there are 26 residents that they've not heard back from. And so they actually gave us the addresses of those customers. This is the first time they wouldn't share that with us. And so now we have those addresses. Yes, sir.
Where's my job?
It's on my computer. I didn't check to see if yours was on
We
there.
still, I don't think they still reached out to everybody. Was that supposed to be everybody in court, not interrupting?
Not everybody in the Corps, just their current customers.
Yeah, well, they haven't, I have not received any communication from a customer for like 11 years.
Again, I didn't check to see if yours, I mean, I can easily go back there and do it.
Okay, but we have a list on.
I'm sorry?
They gave you kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
what they're looking at.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, that's okay. So we're going to help by reaching out to those customers and saying, come on, if you can get back to, Comcast Cable to make an appointment for them to come out. So to me, that would complete their, changeover for each of the homes. And so I'm giving you notice that you need to call. No, I'm just kidding.
And then I think the Little Club is trying to.
No, I'm trying to help out with that too, and so I think I'm getting that hookup done a little quicker. That actually, after a conversation with Comcast, according to Mr. Lehner there, they showed up by the dark of night one night and came over there, and it was Comcast, that is, was doing some work after the sun, after 5 o'clock. So we're trying to get them hooked up as quickly as we can. So that that's positive that if in fact they have arranged appointments and follow through on each of those appointments for at least 75% of their customers out there. Now with AT&T, we have noticed AT&T trucks in the neighborhoods. The work that they were doing in the core area randomly was taking the old service down, but we're working to get a contractor to build about 10 more conduits that they say that they need, and so we're in the process of getting that done right now with Wilco, FNC. And actually AT&T, because Wilco needs a DOT permit to work, under. And so we're trying to arrange that as we speak with FNC at this point in time.
Very good. That's the underground report. How about A1A water main?
Yes, sir. As you can see, the county road now has a new lift of asphalt on it, and A1A also has a new lift of asphalt on it. Yesterday, the FNC finished A1A. There's a lot of traffic on there yesterday, a lot of traffic that was backed up. And of course, we had school, parents coming in. So our police did a great job helping them navigate finishing A1A. So at this point, with A1A, they have to let they have to wait 2 weeks before they put the permanent striping down, and then the DOT will come and inspect it and sign off on the DOT permit that FMC has. And they're still, and actually next week, myself and FMC will be doing a walkthrough of all the roads that they've done, sort of developing a punch list. There's some more restoration that needs to be done, but for the most part, I mean, they restored the grass in some areas, but doing the asphalt thing, they kind of disturbed some of that again. So we're going to be doing a walkthrough, I believe it's on Wednesday, and developing a punch list for things that they need to complete. I mean, there's still some little curbs that they need to provide to some of the houses up here on County Road, but all the residents know that they'll be coming back to do that. So we believe that they'll be totally done by the end of next week. But you're not going to be seeing these huge asphalting, the huge asphalting type equipment out there. They're pretty much done with that. And also Little Club has, got their new lift of asphalt on it too. Let's see. Next. Okay, the minor road and drainage repairs in the core, likewise, we believe that those will be done or substantially complete by the end of next week. There will be probably some punch list items that they'll need to come out and work on. But I think the large equipment that you see out there right now will be gone pretty much by the end of next week. Yes, sir.
Okay, just 2 quick comments on that. One, have there been any complaints that some of the replacement sod hasn't matched? Some perhaps Boisa, and we've got St. Augustine on a few of these.
Right.
Piper and I've noticed that.
Who?
Piper.
Oh, I see. No, I've not gotten those complaints, but I do know that when there's the zoysia down, they try to put zoysia on there, and sometimes they have to wait a little longer because it's harder to get.
Yeah. Okay. They may have thrown some St. Augustine down 4 cans just to keep the.
And that very well could be. I do know, they filmed all of it, so they know what kind of grass is out there. I mean, that's a good question. I'll ask them.
And then, because all of a sudden, after the holidays, again, it may be something where you're dealing with and they're kind of off the site. And then the second thing, this is more for all of us. We're still getting continual questions now that the season started about repaving the roads. And I keep telling everyone verbally that, or the residents verbally, that it's staged because of the phase 1 of the core water main. It's a waste of time.
Correct.
So I don't know if it's at some point in January if we should send out a note, like explaining. Because remember, the residents, do we still have the ruts? Are we resodding? We widen the roads?
Right.
And when are we paving the roads? So now they're going to see the new asphalt on A1A and the new asphalt on one side of the Club Road. And they're like, well,
yes, sir.
I'm getting it like every week. So.
Well, and I'm at the site, depending on whatever block I'm in, almost every day, and I meet a lot of people out on the site, and yes, I get those questions, and the response is just like you said. We do have a 10-year plan. We've got a schedule. The year that we're in right now is basically a planning year for the engineers. Planning, design, and permitting year, and so, and you're right. The North Core area would be on the schedule the next for construction, and that would, if we go by the schedule, would begin in October of 21, and in the next fiscal year.
I agree with Tom. I think we should send something out because it looks like we're piecemeal. I mean, people want to know when the roads are going to be paved.
Sure.
We have a letter going out. next week. Town manager and I are working on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we do that, and as I've found when I meet with people,
Yeah, well,
yeah, but with respect to the work over there, we sent one out subsequent to the annual letter, so it was in like July, I
Yeah,
believe,
I know.
to remind people. And so I find that when I go talk to people, and and I'm invited into the living room sometimes, and we have an hour-long conversation about life and everything. And actually, some of them keep a file of all of the letters that we send from.
Really?
Yes.
What's that?
I'm sorry.
What's that? I want to know that person. Maybe you don't.
Lives at the corner of A1A and Gulfview.
That's okay. Do you think it's better we wait till after, like the first of the
I
year?
think so.
Because it might people get Christmas
That's
cards,
right.
and you're
That's right.
busy, and you open your mail and go, oh, what's this? It's from the town.
Right.
It just,
So,
I thought it was important to get it out before, because people, they're coming back for the holidays, and we're getting barraged with these questions.
yeah,
And
yeah, that's why we did it now.
I should get out to let them know
yeah.
what the facts are. But it's up to you, if you'd rather wait till January.
Well, it's just my thought, because some people don't read our newsletters, like that one person has a file of them.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and the mayor's correct. I mean, when we were thinking about when to send it out, because we are getting a lot of questions about when all this, will be done.
I totally agree.
And so, but I think that we then should follow that up again with one that really talks more about the CIP schedule, because we don't get into that in as much detail in this letter. I mean, I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. Well, we can modify it to address it, but the point is, it is an annual letter, it's got a lot of other stuff in it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with, your plan, which we've sort of always done, what you do last year, what's coming up this year,
Right.
that sort of thing. And then in January,
Yeah.
just do one that says, okay, for all the residents in the core, this is pipes in paving.
Right.
Obviously we try to keep it to one page, because they're not going to look at it, the rest are going to look at the schedule.
And you're right. I mean, with all this work that we're doing, it's all this work that we're doing, and they see a nice new road on county and A1A, and then these are minor repairs that we're making. So there's a lot of roads out there that have these big dips in them, and that's where in front of it, Mayor Koch's house, big dip in it, and that. So everybody thinks, oh, we need a new catch basin right here. Well, we really don't. The road needs to be re-engineered. They've got two catch basins right there. The water just doesn't get to them. And so that's where the re-engineering of the pitch of the roads that will begin to take place in 2021 if we continue on that schedule. That's when that will occur. There's a big one on Banyan Street, that it just holds the water. And so that's where the reconstruction of the roads will take place.
And I really will do a separate letter, because I really want to stress for core residents the impact this road work will have. We must replace the water lines, everyone agrees with that. And then subsequent to that, we'll redo the roads. But to do that, we have to employ the town's rights of way. And those rights of way extend in some areas pretty significantly into what is generally viewed as private property. And I want to make sure that this whole core is attentive to what we're doing and approves of what we may be doing and when we may be doing it. I mean, there's truly construction fatigue in this town. And to begin this process in 2021, which is in another few weeks, I don't know, it just seems to me we should have the entire core in attendance with our movements in that direction.
Yeah, and last year, I mean, you did talk about this at the Civic Association meeting, and we would do the same thing this year. But all of the residents that I've talked to, they're really fine with what we're doing. and support it. They've just kind of forgotten
Yeah.
the order in which we're doing it, and again, yeah, I mean, they probably figured that we would be coming in with a new lift of asphalt on the roads in the core. So, but they're very supportive of it. They have a lot of questions, but after I spend some time talking to them about it, they're all really good with it. So, for the most part, everybody's been very supportive of it.
I do have an increased pressure story from last meeting. Commissioner
Mayor?
Wilson was like, anybody notice any different? And so the hillside house on Little Club Road, that main must have been cooked. Because the water used to come out of the showers and the taps that trickle. Now they go like this and like will knock you down. Every unit in the building.
There you go.
So there we go.
And also,
That's all I have.
what is the, what's the one over here?
Okay.
Gulfstream Shores. Yeah, Gulfstream Shores. I guess it's 4 stories.
Yes.
And if you're taking a shower on the 4th floor, it's a sponge bath, And now they have better pressure, correct?
Yeah, it's increased pressure in the multifamily, so.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
I've heard that.
now, just out there on Polo, for instance, Trey and I were out there one day, and I saw a landscape maintenance crew in their big trucks with a big trailer turn off of Old School southbound on Polo, and there was one going the opposite way. And so we stood there and watched them. We tried to get the camera out to film it. Both of them made it by each other. They were both on the extra foot or 18 inches that we put in there, but they were not on the grass. And so, it was like hallelujah. I mean, before, one of them would have had to pull off into the grass. So I'm hoping that this really helps take care of some of that.
All right, so just to summarize, we're going to do an annual letter now, and we'll follow this up after the new year with a more detailed letter focused specifically on the CIP.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Dunn, let's move on to the King Tide Resiliency Assessment.
Yes, and I have Jeff is here from Baxter Woodman, and he's going to have a short PowerPoint. You do have the report that he submitted to us, which was, I thought, very thorough and not too long to, so that you would read the whole thing. But
If you get stuck, you can always use the purchase one. Okay.
But,
That, you have to pull away. But for
again, so it's Jeff Hiscock from Baxter Woodman.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Yeah, as Brett mentioned, Jeff Hiscock for the record, Baxter Woodman. I am the stormwater engineering department manager. And I was asked by the town to do an assessment of the king tides that we started. There we go. All right. Yes, we were asked to assess the town's vulnerability to king tides and offer some recommendations. This was really facilitated by a recent occurrence, a breach that happened near the intersection of Old School Road and Polo Drive. And what this assessment included was an analysis of low areas within the town. We also looked at the existing outfall pipe check valves that the town has. Check valves are valves that only allow water to go in one direction. And we also were asked to identify any other areas that could be vulnerable now or in the near future.
it's the will.
Well, I got the wrong way.
Area.
Okay. Low lying areas. So what defines that to be a low area? We just want to take a look at the king tides. Where have the king tides been recently? And so we looked at some monitoring data, and this is for a structure by South Florida Water Management District that's nearby, and they monitor on both sides of their structure. And the downstream side, that's the intercoastal waterway. So this is the high tides, daily high tides from 1985, and you can see the peaks are really our king tides. So recently, the king tides that have been occurring at about elevation 3. So we use that elevation to determine what these low-lying areas are. We were able to do that by applying that to Palm Beach County's LIDAR information. LIDAR is topographic information that they have for the entire county. It's very accurate. It's very recent. It gives you a spot elevation about every 2.5 feet apart. So we're able to use that and determine where these areas are. Here we go. Whoop, too far. There we go. Okay. I gotta go one more. Okay, there it is. This is broken into 3 different areas going from north to south. The area on the left is the north part of town. Everything, and then we have Central Park, and we've got the southern part. Anything in orange, kind of a pinkish orange, is areas that are below that elevation of 3. And looking at the north part of town, we certainly have quite a few areas within the road right-of-way. Looking at the central part, we don't really have an issue there because those roads are high enough. And at the southern part, there are some areas vulnerable to king tide, but there aren't road right-of-ways in that area. So we really are focusing on the north part of town. And let me zoom to an area where that occurrence happened, the breach. There we go. This area here, I don't know if you can see my mouse. This is this orange that continues from the water to the road right-of-way. That's where the breach occurred, and it's easy to see why. This is a very low area between the water and the right-of-way. So what happened is water just simply breached over the seawall, over the yard, between the homes, into the right-of-way. There's a pump station here, so if the pump station tries to pump it out, they can't keep up with that kind of water. So what's happening here really is a lot of people will think seawalls are the protection. In this kind of situation, it's really more about the homes. The homes form a barrier between the water and the road right-of-way. The homes are built up. You've got a pad that's been built up about 18 inches above the road. So it's going to slope up to the home. It's also going to slope up to the home from the water, from the seawall. And the homes are close enough together that typically the elevations between the homes are also high. So this forms a nice barrier between the intercoastal waterway and the road right-of-way. What's happened here is that we have a low spot. And that's really what the issue is. We also have highlighted when we can't really see this. I'll show you where the check valves currently are. We just discussed check valves briefly. You've got, the town has 4 duckbill check valves, they're called. The one on the left. Duckbill check valve is attached to the end of the outfall pipe. It just clamps shut and has to be forced open by the pressure of the water. This type of duckbill is kind of being phased out. It's vulnerable to UV rays, which can harden the rubber. Also, it gets barnacle. There's a newer technology called an inline check valve, and this one's kind of like a cone diaphragm that it bubbles upwards as the pressure comes through and lets the water out, and it works on a much lower pressure than this valve. So these are really replacing the duckbill valves. The town has 1 of these and 4 of the duckbill valves. Anyway, future conditions, we looked at some documented projections of where they think the sea level rise is going to occur. We looked out about 10 years for this, just to give the town a little bit of a planning horizon for this type of situation in king tide vulnerability. There's been published information, there are some curves. Typically, there's a NOAA curve that is used for municipalities such as this, which are mostly residential. And what that predicts is about 6 inches of increase by the year 2030. So we want to add that to what we already have now, elevation 3. Now we look at elevation 3.5. We did want to go back and take a look historically what's been happening, because 6 inches seems a little bit high for 10 years. We did a computer trend line. I don't know if that will show up. There it is. Yeah, a computer-generated trend line since 1985 of what's happened. It's been about 5 inches of increase on average over that time period. So 6 inches may be a little high and it may be conservative, but that's what we ended up using. So with that, we applied elevation 3.5 to our analysis of low areas, and those additional areas that would be inundated are in green. So there is a bit of an increase due to that, of course. And from that, we're able to come up with our recommendations. And we broke that into short-term and long-term. Short-term being something we need to get done within the next couple of years. Long-term looking at the 10-year horizon. And this includes replacing some of the check valves that currently exist and where they're most needed. That's these yellow dots. There are 3 that should be replaced in the short term. Because there's a better technology, we don't want a failure of the check valves in these areas. Those check valves are fairly old. There's also areas where additional check valves are recommended in the short term, these red dots. There are some that we don't think need to be replaced in the short term, but in the long term they will. And also in the long term, we recommend 1 or 2 new valves as well.
What's the approximate cost of check valve installation?
Between about $5,000 and $10,000 for the size pipes that we're talking about here.
Each?
Yeah.
More for the replacement or more for the introduction of new ones?
It'll be about the same. If you're adding a new one or taking off the old ones, we need to take off.
Okay.
We also looked at areas of concern, and they are circled in yellow. I don't know if you can see from where you are. There's the area that we talked about, of course, where there's a breach. The best thing to do in that area on that property, which is 3550 Polo Drive, is to build up that area between the homes and possibly coordinate that with the landscaping. Obviously, it has to be coordinated with the homeowner. I don't know how easy that is in this situation, but it is the best solution. Also, looking at the long term, it looks like it may breach on the other side of the property as well. So it may be worth doing both at the same time, if that's possible. There are other areas where there could be some potential breaches. The Little Club, just at the south end of it, is a potential. We don't know for sure. It needs to be checked out and maybe coordinated with the golf club to see if water can possibly get in during a high tide. There's probably a very simple solution to that, again, landscaping or kind of a raised area. But if water did get in, you can see the golf clubs are very low. Water would come in into the lakes. The lakes are connected by pipes. Those pipes connect to the town's pipes to the road. So it's important that that be checked out. We don't want water, again, to be recycling and then get to that pump station. It's going to overwork the pump station and the road's going to flood. There's also a couple areas, Banyan Road and Palm Way on the west end of those roads. They don't have that benefit of having homes between water and the road. So what's going to happen there is, unless we have a high enough seawall in that location, water is going to get into the roadways. And that's more of a long-term issue. But That would take probably an analysis of the existing seawalls in that location and also the possibility of raising the roads. And that is possible, but we have to be careful that we don't cause problems elsewhere when we do that. There are a few other, one other location down here, Gulfview Drive. This does get worse over time for long term. This needs to be looked at. This, the golf course on the south side, again, could be re-landscaped or something to keep the water from getting onto the roadway in that location. And that's really what we came up with for this, the short term and long term. We really appreciate the opportunity to do this assessment for you. And if you have any questions, okay.
Yeah, with the little clubs, water ponding is critical to drainage in the town. And you talk about working with them to investigate your concern. What are you really suggesting?
I think that just asking their maintenance people to meet with someone from the town, just take a look at that area, see if there is a low area, if there's any evidence of any water coming over that area. And we can get an exact location of where that is. I didn't want to go out there and try to assess that myself because it's a private club. But I think it could be something that the town could coordinate with them.
Okay. Questions?
I have a question,
Yes, Paul.
Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this thoughtful report. I sort of have a more holistic question. When we make improvements to an existing drainage system, I'm just wondering about what's going to happen in the future when we, during our CIP plan, work on our drainage system. Are we going to make major modifications to it where we spend money today and need to tear it out? I don't think so, but at some point, and this is a question, I assume in our CIP plan, and I just don't recall the answer to this, that we're going to assess the overall drainage system within the town in the context of, sea levels rising. Is that part of the CIP plan?
Well, the rise in the sea levels was not really contemplated in the CIP plan. I mean, the focus of that is on replacing the water main, and then working on drainage issues by way of re-engineering the streets. Because I mean, you've seen Polo out there. I mean, it's flat. I mean, the water just sits on it, and it's very low. So the CIP really did not contemplate the rise in the sea level.
That's correct. I came on with Baxter Woodman around the time when they were working on that. So I wasn't involved in it, but I'm pretty sure that it did not include any kind of sea level rise assessment.
Correct.
One thing, and I understand definitely road grading is an issue everywhere. That that things aren't pitched correctly. You get these depressions and water sits in them. So it's a matter of trying to get that water where it needs to go. There is a pump station also that really kind of puts the town forward as far as sea level rise, because that's the solution that's happening elsewhere. Pump stations. We're working on one now up in Lake Park. Specifically for sea level rise, and we have several stormwater master plans we're doing now that have recommendations in the future for pump stations. And you've got one now, so you're already kind of ahead of the game there. But we just got to make sure we don't get any breaches coming in to kind of spoil the system.
And to kind of follow up on that comment that we had, the one area that breached. I mean, we had several areas that breached the seawalls and even docks. But as you said, I mean, the structures on the property kept that water from getting out into the street, and so that it was in their backyards basically. And so I think the one there on Polo was the only the only one that actually breached and got out to the roadways.
Yeah, and that's the only area that we saw that it would do that.
Right.
On the analysis.
But we definitely have roads that have, dips in them where the water just stands there. I mean, Banyan, Gulfview, you pointed that one out. Our question is, in our CIP, as we replace the water mains and then come back and have the opportunity to work on the roadways, how far will that go to, improving?
That'll improve the nuisance flooding, that trapped areas where water
Right.
can't get to where it needs to go.
Right.
And that certainly would help take care of that problem. I don't know what storm event the pump station is designed to handle. Usually they go up to, for roads, it could be 3-year storm, 5-year storm. But if you get a storm event that's stronger than that, you still get roadway flooding, even being protected from the king tide. It could still occur.
Right.
But that's something that's, has nothing to do with the king tide.
Well, getting back to Commissioner Lyon's question now, it seems obvious to me that we need to include the recommendation of 7 check valves in our CIP. Is that something that should be done when the new water lines are put in beneath the road? Or can that be done beforehand and there would be no impact on those check valves by the new water lines?
I'm not aware of any improvements for drainage that affect the alcohol. So assuming that's the case, then you can do the check valve anyway, because they're only going to go on the alcohol pipes, the end of the alcohol pipe. Now these inline check valves can actually go in an inlet upstream in the road, but we're still recommending that they go at the outlet, even though they're in the pipe. And the reason is that it keeps the barnacles out of the whole system, in the alcohol pipe itself. It starts building up the barnacles and starts affecting the flow rate. It's just easier to maintain.
So, and my question would be, on our existing outfalls, to retrofit, is there impacts on the elevations of the existing pipes that we would have to address, or can we do that as they are set in the ground? Would we have those kind of issues that we'd have to look at?
You have to talk to some of these contractors that install these. If you have a pipe that's below low tide, then that could be difficult. You may have to do a little copper box to get that area dried out, just to go around it. And I think that's a possibility. Most of these, I think, are above low tide, so timing it, like the one we did.
Sure.
The one where the only inline check valve we had to
Right.
make sure they did that during low tide.
Yeah.
They just barely, were able to get that in time.
Right. So can they typically retrofit those things from the water, or do they have to dig?
No, the pipe will be above the seabed. So they should do that from the water. They'll get some boats or,
Okay.
a barge or something to handle that.
Okay.
And you have to check the condition of the pipes. That's
Right.
There's a possibility that there's a lot of barnacles in there that have to be cleaned out and make it perfectly round, and then we'll have to get a nominal size that's the best fit for that pipe. And hopefully the pipes are concrete or something rigid so that they stay round over time. Sometimes metal pipes or plastic pipes can squash.
Right.
That has to be checked out individually for each other.
Okay.
How do you feel about raising some of the roads like down in this area because they're so low?
Yeah.
I mean, but then and some houses have been built way up and some are still low. So is there some way you can address that?
That is the best example. I'm sorry to barge in, but the best example of what Commissioner Larchwan is talking about is Polo. Down there where our pumps are. The pumps were put on solid rock,
Yeah.
So they have not moved, but Polo has sunk.
Yeah. Everything in Gulfstream sinks because we're all on muck. Like I just put in like 10 truckloads of dirt on my property. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah,
And so the road just sucked, is my point.
right. There's a difficulty in raising roads in a situation where you have higher elevations on both sides, all around. Because what that does is it takes away storage for stormwater. And this, I'm talking about the big storm, 25-year storm event. That's the one that they regulate, South Florida Water Management District. And they force us to prove that we're not going to raise water as a result of everything. So you take that storage out by raising the road, pushes the water onto the property, and it makes it higher. And that's what they will not allow. So that's been our problem with trying to get the roads raised. Unless the road is right up against the water, like those two that I mentioned that don't have that protection for homes, we can't raise it there because that's not going to impact it. It has somewhere to go. But yeah, that's the issue. If you can find another way to get storage, some other means, but they're very limited as far as that goes. And we have some very narrow rails. So it's a difficult problem. Another issue is allowable discharge, which they call it. It's a discharge rate. They limit that rate to what is existing now. So in our analysis, we can figure out how much water is flowing per second during the storm, a peak storm. And they hold us to that. We can't increase it. So it's like a bathtub. You've got the same size drain, and you take some storage away from it, and water's just going to go up. It can't. If you can discharge it faster, then that would help offset the storage problem. But we're not allowed to do that.
So South Florida would have to sign off on it.
Yeah, well, they would be checking it, and they would say no to certain things.
Right.
And that really limits us what we can do.
They would say no to things in the design before we even, okay.
One of the things that we've been doing for some of the stormwater master plans is looking at that 25-year storm. Since they look at that storm, usually water is spilling out between the homes. So that's part of the allowable discharge. And we figure out what that is. And then if we could put larger pipes in, that basically gets the water out back sooner in the storm. It's like a timing in the storm. We take advantage of that, and we can get the water levels down. But that gets pretty tricky.
How do we discharge more water to the little club?
Little club's pretty low, and they have a lot of storage, but I don't think we could add more to it and make it higher. So, they look at every basin regardless of what it is, whether it's residential or some other type of use. They will not allow us to raise water levels during that storm. But we can't fix this and then hurt someone else.
Yeah, but like you said, they have a lot of storage. And if an area, a basin has storage available, they won't let you in.
Well, that storage is being used. It's interconnected with your system. So if the water is just going to fill up equally within the streets, there's nothing to make them any different. There's no control structures between them. It's just pipes.
We don't have room for a retention area.
This is weird.
If you could add another lake or something to the golf course, add storage to it.
It sounds to me, that's what you're saying, we're very limited on what we can do.
We're limited by
We've been trying to address this problem for years.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like, by design, we're going to be limited to Band-Aids, like check valves and things like that, to just deal with the water a little faster.
They keep you where you are, except for fixing the road grading issue. That's a true improvement. That's something that they don't regulate that.
But where's that water going to go?
That water will go out through the system. The problem right now is it's graded such that it can't get to the inlet, so it just ponds up in certain spots. We can fix that, and that's not going to be a problem getting that permit. As far as the models go, we assume that water's all getting out anyway. This is just a physical limitation that's there now that we need to remove.
Well, as I remember, the catch basin that we did over on Polo, it didn't take long to get approved by South Florida at all.
Yeah, we did that under what they call it like a no notice type permit. It's something that you can submit and self-certify to their portal, their permit portal. It didn't actually get reviewed by anybody because of the threshold.
Oh, maybe that's why it didn't take nearly as long.
Yeah, I mean, we studied and did all the calculations for it, but because of the area that was involved with that, just 2 minutes in a pipe,
Right.
it was under their threshold, and so we were able to permit.
Okay, but it was taking water from Gulfstream Road and, to the south of it, so it wasn't just that limited to that small area.
Yeah. We looked at the whole drainage area.
Okay.
But it still was under their threshold for permitting.
I see.
We were able to submit it that way. Now, it was supposed to be circulated to all the agencies by doing it through that portal system. And any one of them could have said, and, raised the flag and said, you can't do this, submit more information or whatever.
Oh, okay, but this is a small area, so I mean, if there are other areas where we could add catch basins,
That could be possible.
that probably wouldn't meet that threshold.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
If the total drainage area is less than a couple acres, then we can rule that.
Okay. Okay.
Well, getting back to the recommendation on check valves, Jeff has recommended 6 in the short term, 3 replaced and 3 additional, and then 2 in the long term. I think the town staff should look into getting pricing for the 6 and 8.
Anthony?
Yes, sir.
Could you maybe step up there where they can see?
Yeah.
And we've really already started that process, right?
Yeah. I've been talking to Ferguson to see what type of pricing they can give us as far as a bundle package of buying multiple check valves instead of just buying individual ones. I haven't heard back yet from them. I'm gonna probably try to reach out to them again this afternoon.
But we're starting that.
Yeah, I've already been in the process of describing everything, and the other question I actually had for Jeff was if it's corrugated pipe, how's that gonna work?
They have special fittings to work with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to go down a couple inches in size of what the nominal size of that pipe is in order to make that work, and they can still leave sufficient space around it.
Okay.
But that's a special installation.
Would you say that it was beneficial to replace the corrugated at least a couple of feet into the seawall so that way we can use a different style of pipe so that way it'll last a lot longer instead of just trying to retrofit it?
I think that would be pretty difficult working in the seawall itself, where, replacing that part of it within the seawall, it'd probably be easier to just slip line that in piece. And they, I know the suppliers have a lot of different recommendations for how to do it.
Okay.
I heard from contractors that have installed them, we're doing them in Lauderdale by the Sea right now, and they're having that issue with the metal pipe, but they actually got to watch. They're cleaning it out as best they can, and they have to bring down the size a couple of diameter to make that work.
So probably slipping it would probably be the best recommendation.
Yeah, and it depends on the manufacturer of the valve, what they recommend to do, but we've worked with a couple of them. I think I gave you their contact.
Yeah, you will.
Wild Stop, Red Tide.
Other questions, Jeff?
I have one last question. I want to go sort of to the bottom line, please. In the spring and then again in the fall and during these king tide episodes, there was significant flooding, and that's why we're talking about this, at the intersection of Banyan and Polo in particular. But it also flowed all the way up to Gulfstream Road to near the school. So if we were to follow these recommendations of installing new check valves, would that then prevent the kind of flooding where cars couldn't pass through? That's my question.
That combined with fixing the breaches, that will protect the roads. And as long as that pump station keeps working.
Well, that pump station has a total of, I think, 12 catch basins that feed it.
Yeah.
And 4 of those, 2, 4, 5, 6 of those are actually on total in between Bangor and Old School. So
Yeah.
that's quite a lot. It's a large volume of water that overflows from that breach into that infrastructure, and then the pump is working twice as hard.
Right.
Right now, I have them running in sequence, so whenever one turns on, they both turn on. So I get double the amount of volume because it has to pull the water out, because if not, it won't keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as you have a breach, that's it.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep coming and recycling. Keep it flooding.
Correct.
So the breaches are very important to fix. Right now, you've only got one that we know of. But we need to stay on top of that.
We just dropped the one we pumped in for 40,000.
I know.
That's
Right.
big, so.
Because the infrastructure, the way it's designed from what plans I do have that are, in file, the catch basins that Mr. Lyons are referring to in front of the school, those are all attached to the same run that goes back up towards Bangor, and then from Bangor, from east to west, behind Mr. Stanley's house, it runs back towards, Polo, and then it splits on Polo, and then it runs down through the infrastructure to where the pumps are. So all those inlets are all feeding into the pump, so that pump is constantly running. So, yeah.
And you get a breach, it's going to really run.
Yeah.
And that's not good for the pumps. Also, the fact that it's salt water coming in, it's not good for the pumps either.
No. We already had to replace one because of that.
Yeah.
It shorted it, so it didn't have to stay functioning. And it would cost more to replace, repair it than to replace it.
Also, do you have a portable generator in case there's a power outage or something?
We don't have anything that much.
The lift station side into this big generator.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, our big town hall generator is tied into that system.
Yeah, well, it is good.
Okay.
Yeah, you need these kind of backup features in case of emergency, especially something storm related, you can lose power at the same time.
All right, good. Well, thank you. Any other questions? Jeff, thank you very much. Very detailed report, and this gives us a sense of direction.
Thanks, Jeff.
Let's move on to the sound systems.
Yes, sir. During our COVID period and our, going to virtual meetings, we've really found out that this tower that's sitting there behind Rita needs some replacing, some of the parts in there. You guys know, I mean, each meeting that we had there for a while, there was something new that came up to try to make it work. And so myself, Renee, and Rebecca met with a company. They actually built this one, right?
Back in 2005.
So Rebecca, could you just kind of summarize, maybe come up here so Mr. Lyons can hear?
This system was purchased in 2005, and the speakers were installed in 2006. So what happened is, unfortunately, last month, I don't know why, but the bottom sound amplifier on this tower, an internal segment of it died. So I don't know if it was a storm that hit it or what, or it could be just age, but it's like the core of it is dead. So I rewired it, and I've kind of got it patched to where it's working now. So Min Games Custom Sound 2 installed this one and does the maintenance on it, came out. They checked my wiring and said that's fine. I asked them about replacing or repairing that bottom part, and they said, look, we can't get this anymore. So we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. It works right now. It's a mess back here, but it works. And, but Mayday said that they just did Fort St. Lucie West chambers and redid their sound system and offered to let us piggyback on their contract to upgrade the system to a digital system that's smaller, more compact, and can integrate more easily with video capabilities for recording purposes.
So what we're introducing this issue to you today, and we've asked them to come up with a package or a plan to try to update this and replace it. If you guys are good with that, that we would bring back to you in January to make upgrades to it. And it also includes, does it include the speakers that were?
So they gave us two different proposals because video cameras are expensive. So the basic tower and microphone system that would be wired into the new system and the sound system would all be one. That proposal came in around $19,000. When we bought this tower, just the tower back in 2005 was $15,000. So just to kind of give you an idea, that didn't include the speakers. Now the video cameras are a different story. I had them totally put that as a separate quote because cameras are expensive, and the camera system came in at $25,000. So I was a little sticker shock over that price. So I have a contact with a government hardware, audio video, or hardware distributor, and I asked him to price check all of the different components just to see if maybe it would behoove us to go out to bid, just to ensure that we're getting the best bang for our buck for the panel. So, and he'll get that information back to me momentarily. He said I should have it by today. So, but that's where we're kind of looking at the moment.
We just wanted to give you an idea of what we're doing, and I mean, I think this one's.
So we won't need a tape recorder anymore?
Unless you want.
Oh, yes, we're going to, that's my safety belt.
We can go to solid state.
We've been told that we.
All else fails. You can sell it as on eBay.
So we'll bring this. That's right. Correct.
Let's move on then to 2901 Avenue.
Okay, this is 2900. You guys know which property this is, and that over the years, the last several years, it's been a code violation lien, and so we negotiated a settlement on that lien cost, but I just wanted to report to you today that the violation is gone, so it's been removed. So Trey and I went over to ensure that it was, and Delray Beach will have, they have to get a permit from Delray Beach, and Delray Beach has to inspect it, but I think they'll do that in the next day or two. And Trey could explain.
The other part of that settlement agreement was a payment of $20,000. So removal of the kind of structure, a payment of a percentage of what was owed, and then we'll go ahead and file a release of lien because we do have a lien on the property. It looks like Terry Glickstein will be obtaining it. He's the one that's developing the property to the north of that. So I think that he has some plans for that as well that may be maybe not incorporated, but that will be part of the application that comes through in the coming months.
So that was just for your information.
Very good.
Is it the golf club that's cleaning out all that property?
Yes.
Inside? No.
Yep.
So that's their property, they're doing that?
Yes.
In advance of County Street's project?
Yes, ma'am. We were over there yesterday. They got a lot of timber they got to take away, right? It's just, it is packed with brush, scrub but
A lot of animals, no?
yeah, and that's actually been, the company that's doing that for them is FMC. So,
Very good. ARPB meeting is this month on December 17th at 8:30 a.m. for anyone who wishes to attend. Finance report and water usage report.
Yes, sir. You do have these in your packets. You have some notes that Rebecca added to the balance sheet. And if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. The water activity, there's nothing that's unusual about that.
Any questions on either report? No? Thank you very much. We'll accept those as submitted. Chief, please activity report.
Good morning, everyone. I have a couple of incidents of interest that I want to discuss this morning and bring to your attention. Unfortunately, we have an incident that occurred that we're very concerned with, and it involves a resident here who a vehicle came into his driveway, looped around his driveway and stopped, and he went out to ask him if he could help him, thinking maybe they were lost or needed some help or something. And as he did, the car sped away, crushing him and knocking him over and having him tumble 2 or 3 times on the ground. The car, we have not been able to locate the car. We thought we had it located by description, and it turned out to be a person in Delray, an 80-year-old woman who was in a car at the grocery store. We don't have much leads to go by on this case. We have extra watch on his property for him, and unfortunately, Mr. Ganger, who was sitting here with us, is the victim in this case. Do you have anything you would like to add to that?
No, but they, 2 weeks later, almost to the hour, another car came in my driveway. I happened to be up in a tree at the time, so there was nothing I could do about it. And I gathered that they saw me and left, but they had actually parked the car in the exact same spot as the first perpetrator. So that's two in 2 weeks, which is about too many. And I think that we probably ought to rethink whether or not the decision made for the right reasons some time ago about cameras on the road should be revisited. You can't react quickly enough to get a license plate, and it's pretty scary. I mean, I came very close to being severely injured, and 85, so be it. But if it were some younger person, family member or whatever, I think we would lose that forever. So any steps we can take to keep these people that are stealing cars in town in check probably is the right thing to do.
I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. Glad you are here.
Because we got rid of them, just put it that way.
Another incident which unfortunately turned out to be good in the long run. It was on Saturday, November 7th. One of the officers, Officer Sutton, stopped a car on A1A that was driving very recklessly going down the road. This traffic stop that he conducted, him and Officer Batista both investigated it together, ended up having 2 runaway juvenile females in the car. One of them had been missing for over a week, the other one had been missing like 2 days. So they were reunited with their family, and of course DCF's involved with it now and everything. And we're putting a letter of appreciation in their file for their actions that day, and returning these 2 girls to their family promptly. But I have nothing. We have all our cars this month.
That's a plus. No, that's an exceptional story. Thank you, Chief. All right, let's move on then to Resolution 2013.
This is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Florida, vacating and abandoning a portion of the right-of-way commonly known as Banyan Road, as shown on the plat of Polo Cove, as recorded in Plat Book 24, page 73, Public Records of Palm Beach County, Florida, and as more particularly described herein and for other purposes. And this is presented for approval this 11th day of December 2020.
Questions? This is in respect to the payment from the applicant last session, correct?
Yes, for the abandonment.
Questions? No? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve resolution 20-13 as presented.
Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Orthwine? Yes. Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Let's move on to the final item, and that is our town manager, who really is exceptional, to be quite honest with you. He works very hard. He's here on weekends. He's here at night. But more than that, he's creative. He's thoughtful. He has foresight for that which benefits the town, and he has an excellent rapport with residents. So we are just blessed to have Mr. Dunham as our town manager. Mr. Lyons brought up competitive salaries for our town manager. And so Mr. Mazzaro looked into this, and we compared certain towns, and the one most adjacent to us is Ocean Ridge. Ocean Ridge town manager salary is about $125,000. Mr. Dunham currently is just under $120,000. However, Ocean Ridge provides some additional benefits, a car rental allowance, some increase to pension that raise the total benefit of all benefits, including health insurance, et cetera, to about $192,000 and some dollars. I would like to propose that Mr. Dunham's salary be raised to $135,000, which will result in his ultimate benefit annually being equal to that of Ocean Ridge at about $192,600, because we do not offer those other benefits. That salary of $135,000 is less than certain other towns on the Barrier Island who also do not have certain other benefits. So it kind of equals out, but I believe that amount of money as a salary for Mr. Dunham will put him right there in the of the middle of a competitive salary. And I think that's important not only for appreciation of what he does, but just as importantly, setting Gulfstream on that competitive level for future town managers that may come into this town. I think that basis needs to be set. I want to extend my appreciation to Mr. Lyons, who digs through all these numbers and comes up with the suggestions to do these things. Mr. Dunham appears not to be too concerned about money. It never comes up in our conversations, and I don't think it really ever did. But I think it's important for him, and it's important for the town to increase his salary to roughly $135,000. But I would like to get your input, obviously.
I agree. Again, so, one of the strong suits of the town manager, obviously, is most of what we've talked about today. The town, when, we went out to search and there was a search committee, one of our major needs was hiring a town manager who had a special expertise and a desire to manage and help us with our impending public works projects, which are going to be ongoing, probably depending on when Mr. Dunham ever retires or leaves us after that. And people don't understand, residents don't understand, some do, some don't, how much time that takes, because you're not just at town hall processing permits and dealing with Del Rey. You actually have to be out paying attention to these projects, performing. So it's an additional burden on staff. We got through a few issues a few years ago, which were different than that. Now we're going to know what towns do. And it's public work. So I agree, with the increase, and of course, you know, storm management, the chief, everybody's here, Anthony, you know, Greg's here, and then that's one thing that we do, and then obviously the continual onslaught of public works projects we're managing at the CIP and beyond, so I definitely agree, and Greg's done a great job handling this.
Comment?
I've always found Greg very responsive and enthusiastic about any issues that get brought up, and never heard any negative comments from anyone in the state that they do with me. Sorry. I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I think it's important to be competitive in price with other communities because you've done a great job, but even as we go, if we need to hire a new town manager, I think it's important to be competitive with other communities.
Very good.
I absolutely agree with all the comments made by the other commissioners. I also appreciate that you as our leader and mayor, when another commissioner raises a subject, you follow through, and I very much appreciate it. So I think it's a win-win, and I think our town's functioning very well due to the mayor, vice mayor, other commissioners, and most particularly the town manager who's out there in the field, not just sitting in his office. So thank you.
All right, very good. We would need a motion to direct that the town manager's salary be increased to $135,000 if it's such a motion.
Make a motion to approve the increase of the town manager's salary to $135,000 for the base salary.
Second. Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Dunn.
Well, thank you very much. I'm humbled by the gesture. Been in the business for 35 years. I can say the last almost 4 years, really enjoyed working here. But in addition to that, I've had a lot of fun working here. And a lot of times the town managers can't say that they have fun doing what they're doing. And I can truly say that. But I do have to say that all of the employees here, we're all truly blessed to work here, and I couldn't do my job without the support of a great staff, and so I want to shout out to them. But again, I'm humbled, and thank you.
Very good. Thank you, and yes. Of course, thank you.
I'm assuming that work being done up front is the backflow valve.
Yes, it is.
Bigger than I thought that would be. It seems.
Yeah, it's a big one, and that's why it was so expensive. But I mean, it's our main, it's where the water comes in from Delray. So, but they're starting to work on that right now.
How long did they expect it to?
That's a good question. I'd have to ask one of those good support employees, Anthony, if he knows.
Okay.
So, but it's going to be hidden. So don't worry about that.
Before about that cover.
Oh, no. Right. Absolutely. It has to be above ground now. That's the law. We can't have it underground. By the way, I was out there with that P&L yesterday, and we're looking for a location for the next street light in that intersection.
Ready? Thank you.
Okay. I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and a Happy New Year.
So, Merry Christmas. Are you going to pay us to work here? He used to always say, oh my gosh, this is such a crazy job. We should pay him anything. Right, Rita?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the place, I didn't hear Coke would say, it's a privilege to work here. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it is.